Good morning, tribe. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. Hey, this is going to be a really quick video. I just wanted to share a tip with you about some of the ways that I manage power, especially when I'm actually plugged in, as I am this week. Why am I plugged in this week? Oh, because last night's overnight low was 27. That's going to be like the highest overnight low for the next 4 nights. It's going to get down to 19. We're going to have, 2 to 4 inches of snow overnight. I think that starts tomorrow night. And I just decided wisdom would be plug in, use as much electricity as possible, keep my batteries warm, and go from there. As always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. We're going to roll the intro and get right into this.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
Well, let's start right here with a shot of the snoozing puppy dog. Now he opened his eyes for me. So here we are. I am in an Army Corps of Engineers campground, and we're going to start with a couple of different things. So first of all, this is how cold it actually is. I can only get the interior up to 60 degrees right now. It feels fine because the sun's coming in. I have the electric heater set for 70 degrees. And I'll go ahead and show you, overnight, I actually had my regular furnace set for 62 degrees, which means it would come on at 60. I didn't want to take a chance on anything freezing. The other reason for me to be plugged in is I have tank heaters. So my tank heaters are on so that my tanks don't freeze, because let me tell you, a frozen gray and black tank would be a really bad thing. Now, that's like the basics, but the other thing that I do when I am plugged in is I switch my refrigerator from LP to auto, which means it's running on electric at this point, because that's what auto means to it. I can't run it on auto all the time, especially in the winter, because it thinks that I'm always on electric as long as the inverter's on. So that I'm always plugged in. That's how the refrigerator sees my inverter. So I leave it on gas when I'm not plugged in. And then here's another hack that I love, and I can do this most of the time in the summertime as well. I love my turkey bacon, actually. I get this at Sam's Club, and I think it's like $10.50 for 2.5 pounds. And I really like it. It tastes really good. Let me do a little flip here. See if I can do it one-handed. And the bacon's almost done, so I guess I really kind of need to wrap this up relatively quickly here. Yeah, doesn't that look good? Looks good to me. Got my eggs ready to go. Got a slice of pepper jack cheese. So, but what am I cooking on? That was the point of this. This is my electric induction cooktop. Now, in the summertime, I will use this during the day as well, because I've got plenty of power during the summertime. In the wintertime, I only use it when I'm plugged in. So why am I doing that? I use my electric cooktop when I'm plugged in. I put my refrigerator onto electric when I'm plugged in, and I do that because then I'm not using propane. So right now, the only thing I'm going to be using propane for is my furnace, right there, if I reach the point where it gets cold enough that this electric heater can't keep up enough overnight. And it probably will. And in fact, probably the night that it gets down to, I think it's going to be 18, which I think is in 2 nights. I think at that point, I will probably have to come back into the bedroom. And I've got a door here that I can bring across. I bring Kid in with me, and then we're just heating up. With our body heat, we can heat up the bedroom area pretty effectively. So really what I wanted to share with you guys is when you are in the position of, being in super cold weather, you can tough it out. And I understand that for some of you that may be the only choice. Or you can decide that you're gonna, bite the bullet and plug in. And, part of the way that I decide to bite the bullet and plug in is, as I said, I'm in an Army Corps of Engineers camp. I have a golden access pass, America the Beautiful interagency pass, which gives me 50% off on every federal campground. And so that means that instead of $35 a night for water and electric, I'm paying $17.50, which is, typically I like to keep it down to about 15. And in this case, I got here yesterday. This is actually pretty funny. Let me flip the camera around again. And while I was turning the camera around, I also went ahead and put the eggs in. And if I can get on them, that'll give you some idea how long this video is going to be. When the eggs are done, I'm done, pretty much. So when I first got here yesterday, I pulled in. Now, I had this whole struggle about getting propane. And I guess I'll tell you about that too, just because I think it might be useful for somebody to know. Sometimes it can be difficult. So, day before yesterday, I broke camp. I was camped on the beach on the Gulf in Texas, free camping. It was beautiful. I loved it there. But the day before, I had looked at the weather forecast and realized just how cold and nasty it was going to get, and decided that because I have lithium batteries, it would be wisdom for me to plug in. So it's okay. I'm sorry, I keep looking at my eggs. It's okay to discharge lithium batteries below freezing, but they won't charge. So, and I just turned the eggs off, so I won't be too long here, in case you're wondering how long this is going to last. So, So I had that concern, right? It's better to be plugged in under those circumstances. Now, normally, if we're going to have freezing temperatures that are going to be overnight for, let's say, my typical thing is it won't get below freezing until like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then it's only below freezing for a couple of hours, which is not enough to really cause a huge problem. But in this case, when I looked at the weather forecast, it was going to be super cold for many days in a row, and if there wasn't snow in the forecast when I looked, but there is now. Oh well. So I knew I was going to need to leave in order to feel safe and be comfortable and all of those things, or semi-comfortable, because it's cold and I hate the cold. Now, part of what I looked at was how far can I go, or how far do I have to go to get out of the cold? And the answer was I wasn't going to be able to outrun the cold, which is why I'm going to just be here. I'm actually going to be in this campground for probably a week. That's what I've got booked, and unless the weather gets better, which I don't expect, I'm going to be here for a total of a week, and if it gets worse, I may be here longer. Fortunately, I've got plenty of food and so forth. So propane. So I leave the beach camping, and there was a Tractor Supply like 15 minutes up the road, and I had called to make sure that they did motorhomes, because not all of them do. And they said, yeah, fine, no problem. Well, I got there, and they were having a problem, with their propane gauge. Their gauge was not counting up, putting any gallons into my propane tank. And what the guy finally figured out was they were basically out of propane. So I got a gallon or two for free, probably, based on what my gauge looked like when he had finally disconnected. But I couldn't get filled up, and I wanted to be full because I want the option, should it get as cold as I think it's going to, I want to be able to run my furnace pretty much non-stop, I'm thinking. So I wanted a full tank of propane to be able to do that. So that night I spent the night at a Walmart, and I actually completely forgot that I still had to deal with propane until I was a couple blocks away from the Walmart, and I saw another Tractor Supply. So as soon as I got parked, because it was almost dark, I called the Tractor Supply to make sure that I could fill up there in the morning. And they said, yeah, they fill motorhomes, no problem, but they're out of propane. I'm like, wait, what? Now, this is on a Friday late in the day. And so now my problem is I've got to find someplace else to be able to get propane on Saturday morning. And what I normally like to do, normally Tractor Supply is like my second or third choice in getting propane. My first choice is to go to an actual propane supplier that, like fills tanks for houses for people that use it all the time. Sorry, my hand's a little shaky today. But can't do that on the weekend. Those places are only open Monday through Friday. So I abandoned any thought of doing that. I found a propane place that was not too far out of the way and close to where this campground is, which was like 45 minutes or so from where I was parked. Left messages, they didn't return my call. They said they were open 9 to 2 on Saturday, but I wasn't getting any response, so I wasn't going to detour just for that. And finally, I gave up, and I decided, all right, fine. I've got half a tank at least. I'm going to just suck it up. It'll probably be fine. Because I didn't know what else. I mean, there wasn't any other propane I could find that was within an hour of where I was or where I needed to be. And I just really didn't want to drive all day long to get propane when I thought I'd be okay. Fortunately, I made the turn off of the main farm to market road onto the only named road to get to the campground, and right on the corner there was a small U-Haul dealer and a small RV repair place, and as I looked over to my right I saw a propane tank, so I pulled in and they filled me up, and that was awesome. So now, you know, I'm not quite at the campground yet, and sorry, my eggs are done and I'm throwing my bacon back in the pan so it'll stay warm. And then I'll be finished with this shaggy propane story shortly. Well, I'm finished with the shaggy propane story. So then I get to the campground, and you don't need to be that close to me. And I pull up to the front gate. This is an Army Corps of Engineers campground. And I was planning to get here, get parked. And I'm here, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Check-in isn't until 3, but usually at Corps of Engineers campgrounds you can check in early, no problem. My plan was to get here, get parked, hook up electricity so I'd have that done, hook up my hose, fill up my tank because I knew it was going to be cold, and then disconnect my hose so that their pipe wouldn't freeze and I wouldn't freeze my hose. But when I get to the check-in at the entry, the gal doing check-in says, and oh, by the way, the water's turned off in the park for the next 4 days. And the only bathhouse that's open is in loop 1. I'm in loop 4. They're about as far away from each other as would be possible. And I think the only reason they're leaving it on in loop 1 is because that's where all the camp hosts are parked. That's my guess. So then I looked at her and she said, but it might still be on right now. And so I decided just to come to my site, see if the water was on or off. Well, it was off. And I had asked her, I said, so I really need to be able to get water to be able to, you know, get by over the next few days while you're going to have it off for 4 days. Thinking to myself, you know, I paid for a campground that has water and electric. I understand weather issues affect all this stuff, so I really couldn't be terribly upset. But I needed a solution. And she said, I really don't know what to tell you. She said, you can call the campground office and they might have some idea. I said, what about dump stations? Are dump stations closed and turned off yet? She said, I'm not sure. I said, do they have potable water? She said, yes. I'm like, all right, well, that might be the fallback position. And so I got here, no water. I tried calling the park office. It was Saturday, and of course, you know, they're off for the weekend, so no answer there. And then I thought, all right, so what am I going to do? So I called the place where I'd gotten propane, you know, half an hour earlier. And kind of cool. They immediately, as soon as their phone rings, I think, and it goes to voicemail, they send a text message that says, send us a text. Okay. So I sent them a text explaining as in as short a concise a way as possible what had happened and, you know, would it be possible for me to get 10 or 15 gallons of water from him? And he texted me back immediately. I think this is the guy that owns the RV repair side of the business. He said, go see JC at U-Haul and he'll be happy to help you. So I went back up there and I parked, I could see their water spigot by the RV repair place as I was pulling in, so I parked fairly close to that. Well, JC came out from the U-Haul office, and I think he thought maybe there was some problem that I was having with the propane that they had just put in. No, it was fine. So I explained to him what had happened, showed him my phone, and said, you know, would that be okay? And he said, oh yeah, sure, no problem. In fact, he actually hooked up the hose, pumped the water in for me, disconnected the hose. It was awesome. So I solved my whole water problem. Well, what's the point of this whole thing, guys? Well, the point is that you need to be prepared to deal... GMCC. Sorry. I want to keep my TV from turning off because I've got things set a certain way. You need to be prepared to deal with cold weather. And I guess while we're at this, I'm going to flip the camera around again. I'm going to show you a couple of other things real quick that I do to help with this. So here we are up in the cabin. As you can see, I have a windshield cover, which is just a regular car windshield cover. And overnight, I put this up. Now, I have the silver side facing in so that any heat that's in here will be reflected back into the cab area rather than doing it the way that you would when you want to reflect heat outside, which would be to put the silver side outside. This stuff over here is called Reflectix. I bought a roll of it. I cut these pieces for the side windows myself. And cold or heat, they help a surprising amount. I have also put Reflectix in many of my cabinets, which helps to, you know, insulate the cabinets themselves, and that's a benefit. And then I'll show you this one. This vent, I made a piece to put up in that vent because that vent actually puts the most cold air out. And then this one is a big piece, and I'm not going to put it in because I'll make a mess trying to get it behind my frying pan. But this goes into the kitchen window overnight, and I had to put two pieces together to make that work. So I do that to minimize the amount of heat that's escaping and maximize the amount of heat we're retaining, if that makes sense at all. So it's the next afternoon, and I thought I'd give you an update on our first much colder night overnight, followed by a much colder day. So yesterday afternoon, it actually got up to, I think, about 55 degrees, which wasn't bad, you know. I mean, the sun was out, it was cold, but it was bearable, and Kit could go out just wearing his sweater. He didn't have to have his winter coat on. But today, we woke up to 22 degrees, and it stayed at 22 degrees for quite some time. We are finally up to 33 degrees at 2:45 in the afternoon. So, I mean, this is real time, and I'm sharing it with you because I thought it might be useful to know how this went. A couple of things happened. I did leave my furnace turned on overnight. I had it set at 60 degrees. And so I was running my electric heater in the living room area all night long. I actually had it pointed toward Kit's bed. And tonight Kit will be coming into the bedroom with me because I don't want to take a chance on it being too cold. Part of what happens is when you have prolonged periods of cold that go on day by day by day, each day you lose ground, right? So like yesterday, I was able to get up to 70 degrees inside by just about the time it was getting dark. And then shortly after it got dark, I started losing ground again, and by the time I went to bed, it was down to like 65 degrees in the living room. But the bedroom was still warmer because it's a more enclosed space with more padded furniture with the bed there. Does that make sense? So this evening, I'll move Kit's bed into the bedroom with me because our joint body heat will help to keep that area warmer, and I will still leave the furnace on overnight. It did come on at least once or twice. I know once, I think twice, that I woke up and heard the furnace running. And when I got up this morning, the space heater in the living room was recording the temperature in the living room at 55 degrees. And, you know, if I had less airspace in here, it would be easier to heat. So, you know, if you're in a van, if you're in a car, you can heat it up a little more easily. That said, there was a van, like a Dodge Grand Caravan or something, that was parked here overnight last night. I don't know if they spent the entire night or not. They were gone when I finally took Kid out this morning at about 10 o'clock, when it got up to like 27, 28 degrees at that point. So I am blessed. You know, I've got an amazing rig. I love my rig. I am really grateful to be able to be plugged into shore power while this is going on, so I can maximize the amount of electricity I have available to produce the most heat possible and minimize the amount of propane that I'm using. I am prepared to stay for as long as I need to stay. Right now, I'm planning to leave in like 2 days. Well, 2 days after now, it's going to be above freezing overnight. When I say above freezing, I think it gets up to 33 degrees. But then the next night it's going to be like 38, and that's okay. I can deal with those temperatures. The biggest part of the issue for me is the batteries. I don't want to be in a position where I'm discharging my batteries, and the cold weather. You know, if you're sub-freezing, recharging batteries. Actually, I'm not sure if they'll recharge at all, and if they will, I know it will damage them and shorten the life. I don't think they'll actually take a charge though when it's that cold. So that's kind of where we are. There was one other point I wanted to make about this, which has just completely escaped me. Maybe I should use a script. I never do that. I just kind of get here and talk to you guys, and I hope you understand and appreciate that. Hey, by the way, you notice there's a new intro at the beginning of the video. Let me know what you think of that. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions about this, or if there's anything else that you would like me to address, especially in kind of like the RV newbie category, please let me know. well, not especially, but anything you'd like me to address, I'll be happy to make a video about it. Please do let me know what that is. Leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thank you so much for watching my videos. Hope you got something out of this, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.